Hey dear, let's talk about comparing yourself to others. You've got to stop that. Why compare your behind the scenes with everyone else highlight reel? They have edited it. It's been edited. That's not the real thing. It is the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty that gives them understanding. Elihu suddenly spoke up in Job chapter 32. It is apparent that he had been present all along, but he held his peace because he believed Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar were older and wiser than he was. Listen to what he said. I am young in years, and you are old. That is why I was fearful, not daring to tell what I know. But after hearing the long and meaningless discourses of Job's three older friends, Elihu suddenly felt emboldened to speak. It is the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty that gives them understanding. You've got to wake up one day and come to that realization. It is not only the old who are wise. Therefore, I say, listen to me. I too will tell you what I know. That's what the guy said. Then he spoke non-stop for the next 6 chapters in the book of Job, chapter 32. He no longer saw himself as a loser in the game of comparison. Feelings of inferiority are generated by comparing yourself with others, or you go to the other extreme and finish up in a sense of superiority. There's a thin line between the two, you know. What I get to recommend is that you either feel inferior or superior. Let your complex be in Jesus. That's why you should never play the comparison game. Let me ask you a question. Can you recall a time when you felt so inadequate that you kept quiet and refused to speak up, even though you had a worthwhile thought or an idea to say? It was going to change the course of things, but something inside you was telling you, hey, you are not good enough. Shut up. You must realize that it is not your ability that determines your success, but the breath of the Almighty that gives you understanding. Another translation would say, the breath of the Almighty giveth thee inspiration. Listen, the secret of success is drawing daily on God's enabling power. When you become so persuaded of this truth, you will be able to take on new levels of risk and responsibility without fear of failure. When you copy someone else's blueprint, you forfeit the masterpiece God designed you to build. That's a wise thing you must pay attention to. Did you hear what I said? When you copy someone else's blueprint, you forfeit the masterpiece God designed you to build. He says, you are his workmanship. Another translation would say, you are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which God had before ordained that you should walk in them. I leave you blessed. Peter Achoji is my name.